All right, good morning. It is 5:34 on Sunday, the 29th of August, 2021. Unfortunately, what will be a red letter day in the history of portions of the Gulf Coast. I am Texas Storm Chasers Baldy-in-Chief David Reimer, and we are tracking Major Hurricane Ida this morning. Last night at about 10 p.m., when we went live, maximum sustained winds were 105 miles per hour, and the minimum central pressure was around 970 millibars. Uh, well, 7 hours later, we warned y'all last night. We've been warning folks for days, as have every other meteorologist and forecaster on the Gulf Coast, that Ida was going to rapidly strengthen before it made landfall. And unfortunately, that is exactly what has happened overnight. Maximum sustained winds are now 145 miles per hour. And based on winds just measured by the NOAA Hurricane Hunters, I expect that will be increased to 150 miles per hour in the next update within 20 minutes. So in all likelihood, we now have a high-end Category 4 hurricane, maximum sustained winds between 145 and 150 miles, now about 60 miles southeast of making landfall in southeastern Louisiana. Ida is a high-end Category 4 major hurricane, comparable in intensity to, well, honestly, it's going to be stronger than Katrina was when it made landfall. Katrina made landfall with Category 3 wind strength. The surge with Katrina was much, much worse, especially in places like Mississippi into Alabama. Yes, southeast Louisiana got surge. New Orleans got some surge, but what made New Orleans disaster in 2005 was man-made. The levees failed after the peak surge had come on through. The city was mostly fine during most of the hurricane. Had some very high winds, some hurricane-force wind gusts, had some downed tree limbs, power lines, etc., had some flooding. Nothing like what happened after the levees broke. If the levees had not broke in 2005, man-made disaster, the main story would have been, and rightfully been, on the Mississippi coast that was annihilated by a 30-foot storm surge from Katrina. This is a different ballgame. This Hurricane Ida is a intensifying high-end Category 4 hurricane coming up to landfall versus a weakening Category 3 hurricane with Katrina in 2005. Frankly, the points are moot. It is what it is. Let's get on with it. Ida is likely going to be a major Category 4 hurricane at landfall. Whether or not it becomes a 5, also relatively moot. That would be an increase of 10 miles per hour in its wind speeds over what it has right now. In the realm of things, that's not going to do much. We already have the surge coming into southeastern Louisiana over 7 feet on a tidal gauge. That'll likely jump up to 15 to 18 feet in the coming hours as the eye wall approaches land. We're going to have a flood wave try and move up the Mississippi River. Hopefully the flood protection systems will work, even though they have been redesigned, I believe $50 billion or something like that, since Katrina. This is still going to test them. This is going to be the upper bounds of what they were built for. After Ida makes landfall, the eastern eye walls are going to pass over the city of New Orleans, bringing extremely destructive hurricane-force winds over 120 miles per hour to the city. They did not see that in Katrina. They had max winds of maybe 90 miles an hour. This is going to be much, much worse in terms of the destructive wind aspect in the city of New Orleans. Potential for 15 to 20 inches of rain in the city of New Orleans. That's going to stress the pumps to pump water out of the city because some of the city is below sea level. And then, of course, the storm surge, which hopefully the hurricane and flood protection systems will prevent that from coming into the city of New Orleans proper. Outside of the levee protection systems, most of southeast Louisiana is going to be under between, 10 to 15 feet of water above ground level. Ida, as you can see, looks nothing like it did 7 hours ago. It is symmetrical. It has a clearing eye, those very cold cloud tops surrounding the eye of the hurricane. You can see the eye itself is clearing out. You can even see little mesovortices, or areas of enhanced spin in the eye wall as the eye wall violently rotates around the eye of the hurricane. This is a big, bad, very mad hurricane. There's no doubt about it. And I can guarantee you now, the name Ida will never be used again to name a hurricane. So, here's what we're looking at. Landfall is expected in the next several hours, probably by lunchtime. The storm continues moving northwest at 15 miles per hour. The minimum central pressure is around 946 millibars. Maximum sustained winds of 145 to 150 miles per hour. Wind gust exceeding 170 miles per hour. All of southeast Louisiana outside of the levee control systems are likely to experience a 10 to 15, perhaps higher foot storm surge. We're expecting a 5 to 12 foot storm surge across much of the Mississippi coastline, a 3 to 8 foot storm surge across the Alabama coastline, including up into Mobile Bay. After Ida makes landfall around lunchtime, maybe a bit sooner, it will start to slow down as it moves towards Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge is likely to experience a very serious strike in terms of destructive hurricane force winds well over 100 miles per hour that will probably decimate the power grid system. Many folks across southeastern Louisiana into southwest Mississippi are going to be without power for weeks, because the grid is going to be destroyed. They're going to have to rebuild the grid almost from scratch, probably, and unfortunately, that's just the way it is. After Ida makes landfall, it will start to slow down by this evening. Well, here. Actually, if I am correct, let me go ahead and just read off this graphic over here. I want to make sure I get the times right. Ida at 1 p.m. Oh, for heaven's sake, stop that. Stop it. Ida is going to be around here, southwest of Jackson, Mississippi, at 1 p.m. tomorrow. So between now and 1 p.m. tomorrow, Ida's not going to make it very far inland, per se. That's why we're going to have 15 to 20, perhaps 25 inches of rain in portions of southeast Louisiana, including the city of New Orleans, up into southern Mississippi, south of Interstate 20, south of Jackson. Jackson, Mississippi is likely to experience wind gusts of 50 to 75 miles per hour later tonight into the day tomorrow. That will cause significant tree damage and result in widespread power outages across a good chunk of southern Mississippi. So that's what we have going on this morning, folks. I'm sorry the news isn't better, but unfortunately, unlike Katrina, that was weakening as it made landfall in 2005 in southeast Louisiana, Ida is continuing to intensify and is now a high-end Category 4 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 145 to 150 miles per hour. Landfall is expected this afternoon around lunchtime, and the hurricane will likely be, or at least the eye of the hurricane, the center, will be near Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 1 a.m. Monday. So New Orleans is not going to have a great day, unfortunately. Even if the levees hold, and hopefully they do, much of New Orleans will be inundated by 15 to 20 inches of rain, which undoubtedly the pumps are going to have issues pumping out initially, especially since the storm surge outside of the levees is going to be so high. And then, of course, there's also the fact power in New Orleans is going to... I feel comfortable saying the entire city of New Orleans isn't going to have power. And in all likelihood, it's not going to have power for many days, if not weeks, in some cases. So that's what we have going on this morning. You can see the hurricane itself about 60 miles now from making landfall. I'll go ahead and read the latest update. At 5 a.m., the hurricane was 65 miles southeast of the mouth of the Mississippi River, or 80 miles south-southeast of Grand Isle, Louisiana, moving northwest at 15 miles per hour. Minimum central pressure 946 millibars, and the maximum sustained winds are between 145 and 150 miles per hour. The minimum central pressure, I'm sorry, it was 946 millibars. A dropsum that just came in. The pressure in Ida has now fallen to 935 millibars. That is 935, or in inches of mercury, that is 27.5 4.64 inches of mercury. Ida is a very powerful hurricane and, frankly, is doing its best to make a run at Category 5 strength. Again, the minimum central pressure has continued to rapidly fall, now down to 935 millibars. Maximum sustained winds likely near 150 miles per hour and increasing. Ida could become a Category 5 hurricane before making landfall in southeast Louisiana in about 5 hours or so. We're going to have Storm Chasers live in southeast Louisiana. They're planning on going live on our YouTube channel, Texas Storm Chasers, in about 45 minutes, 6:30 a.m. Central, 7:30 Eastern. Unlike the chases last year, they are, positioned in a much more rural area. In all likelihood, the ability to stream live video is going to become impossible around the time the eye hits their location, simply because the infrastructure is going to be taken out. And keep in mind, they are in a safe location. They are in elevated locations and are self-sufficient. They have food, supplies, etc. to be able to remain in their location for several days. In the event they are not able to leave their location after the hurricane due to damage blocking roads or, well, the storm surge washing out the roads in some instances. So that's what we have going on. Breaking news now, the pressure is now down to 935 millibars as Ida continues to explosively intensify overnight. I'll be honest, we expected rapid intensification. We did not expect this kind of intensification. This is the coming to be a worst case scenario in terms of intensification. And with that, it is entirely possible Ida becomes a Category 5 hurricane before making landfall later this morning around lunchtime at the mouth of the Mississippi River, and then bringing extremely destructive to catastrophic major hurricane winds into the city of New Orleans in the eastern eye wall of this high-end Category 4 hurricane this afternoon. So what we're going to do right now is we'll go ahead and go back to our normal satellite stream. Those of you who are watching our satellite stream on YouTube, we've been streaming satellite since yesterday afternoon. We'll be streaming satellite until tomorrow at this point. And then on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, etc., watching this stream, we'll go ahead and terminate it. We encourage you to be subscribed to us on YouTube, Texas Storm Chasers. We're going to have a couple different live chaser streams from Southeast Louisiana later on this morning. First one starting in about 40 minutes, and I'll be back as necessary to provide weather updates. But in summary, Hurricane Ida has continued to explosively intensify overnight. Winds have now increased from 105 miles per hour about 10 p.m. last night to 150 miles per hour now at 5:45. The minimum central pressure has fallen 30 to 40 millibars since 10 p.m. last night, which is extreme, to say the least. A intensifying hurricane might intensify 1 millibar per hour, or that is the pressure drop 1 millibar an hour. This has been averaging closer to 6, 7, 8. And unfortunately, that trend is continuing as of almost 6 a.m. Central. So Ida is making a run at Category 5 strength, and the intensification continues. We'll keep an eye on things. I'll be back as necessary. We'll have live streams up shortly from the field in Southeast Louisiana on our YouTube channel, Texas Storm Chasers, and those will be added to our website and mobile app, TexasStormChasers.com, or just Texas Storm Chasers in your device's app store. We'll be back. I'm sure, as you can tell, we're geared up to deal with this, so alrighty, that is it for now. I keep finding excuses not to end this stream, but okay, I'm going to end this stream now. We'll talk to y'all again here in a bit.